Good morning, everybody. We have some folks coming on, so we're going to give it a few minutes. We are ready to rock and roll this morning. Happy Wednesday. Yay, yay, yay. It's a beautiful day. While we allow some people to come on, I just want to go over a couple things. So did you guys know that today is the 169th day of the year? Yes, as a matter of fact, it is. So there's 197 days left, almost at mid-year. This is the 25th Wednesday of 2020. So that's pretty exciting stuff. 90th day of spring. So we have 4 days left until summer kicks in. So there you go. If you didn't know that, now you have some new data to go share for Wednesday, June 17th. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So first of all, thank you all very much for being here today. I appreciate you joining us. I'll be letting people in as we go. The logging in seems to be taking a little longer today, so I'm going to go ahead and let people in as we go, so bear with me on that. My chat administrator is not with us today, so we are going to roll with this, and I'm going to manage the chat as well. So just to go over some general things that we do for our little Zoom meeting here this morning, we are staying in mute. So except for the panel, we want to be able to answer every question and provide really good answers for you guys. So if everybody would stay on mute and then direct all of your questions to the chat. The chat is your friend. That helps us stay a little bit more organized and be able to, if there's the same question just in different ways, that way we're not re-asking the same question several times and we can answer it fully and completely. So please direct all of your questions to the chat, and we love questions. First 30 minutes of our segment is going to be everybody hearing our information. We have a lot of great information today. We're talking luxury and the state of our economy here locally. So, and then the second portion is going to be questions. So we'll address all of your questions at that time. Again, thank you everybody for being here. I want to introduce our panel. We have Mr. Carl Bassett from HomeVestors. Hi, Carl. We have Mr. Dustin DeHart from Nova Home Loans. Hi, Dustin. And Mr. Randy Char, our special guest for this segment from Char Luxury Real Estate. So we're really happy to bring you guys all this information today. I do want to start, first of all, with some stats. So last month, I talked about some of the April numbers, and I want to give you a little bit of the differences from last month to this month. So in April, we had 2,349 single family condos and townhomes that sold. They closed in April. May, we have 2,028 single family condos and townhomes. So that went down a chunk there, a few hundred. We had 308 cash transactions last month, 299 for this month, 1,112 conventional, 955 for May, and 595 FHA, went down to 418 FHA for May. And then VA is 286 last month, and that actually went up. So that's interesting. Dustin, maybe you can touch on that. You're seeing a lot more VA. It sounds like it. There was a big significant difference there. But
not a lot, but yeah, we're starting to see more vets buy houses and a lot of VA streamlines, stuff like that. So
okay.
We always do a lot of VA loans.
Fantastic, fantastic. So that's some interesting stats. I have a couple things. I'm going to dig into some numbers, especially since we're doing luxury. So as far as active listings, we had 1,211 between 100,000 and 200,000. 200,000 to 300,000 was 2,065. So that's our biggest number as far as active listings. 2,065 between 200,000 and $300,000. 300,000 to 400,000 is 1,792. 400,000 to 500,000 in active listings is 849. And 500,000 to 600,000 is 501. 600,000 to 700,000 is 327. 700,000 to 800,000 is 217. 800,000 to 900,000 is 145. And 900,000 to 1 million is 91. And then over a million, 532. That takes everything over the top over a million. So that's interesting stats. And then, well, Randy, where's your marker here for luxury? 700,000 and above?
Well, depending on how you define it, one definition is the top 10% of any submarket. The top 10% of our submarket is actually, surprisingly to some, might be lower than what you thought. Actually in the 600s somewhere, 650 or something. So you could make an argument that 750 and above is the general luxury market. A lot of us though refer to the luxury market, you know, anecdotally at, you know, 1 million and above. But what's interesting is there's quite a break between 750 and 1 million. You'd think that there's not a big difference, but there's enormous difference. The amount of solds between 750 and above or 1 million and above is probably 2 to 3x.
Fantastic. Okay, so a lot of our reports that we do, we kind of just, due to our market, probably start at 700 as what we put out there on luxury reports, on a lot of the reports that we get. So, but I like your description. What was that one more time? You said it was 10% of?
Well, so according to the Institute for Luxury Marketing, that's a little more standardized, they define the luxury market as the 10% of any given submarket. So you take the top 10% sales. And then in our market, the last time I checked, it was in the 600s somewhere.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, well, that's good news. That's good for our market, for those of you who didn't know what we consider market, but that's a good line to start with. So thank you very much, Randy. I'll be back with you shortly. We did want to talk a little bit about our wonderful roadmap to recovery. We have had some changes and got an announcement the other day. On Monday, the governor came out and let us know we are not going to phase 3 just yet. So folks, those day clubs and night clubs are not opening. If you were waiting to get your little boogie on, it's not happening right now. But hopefully by the end of the month, I did hear another stat that said that by the 30th, there is a plan to potentially look at it again. They are going to monitor everything, so there's not like a strict date, but that's, from my understanding, the next date that they are going to plan to hit phase 3, which, you know, that is day clubs, nightclubs, also hits the adult entertainment world. So none of that's going to reopen. They did see there was a slight upward trend in infections, and I think that's probably part of it, which was estimated that was going to happen because of the fact that there's a lot more testing happening, but they don't want to move too quickly. So I wonder how that's affecting everybody. As a phase 2 in my venturing out into the world, I went to a restaurant here in downtown Summerlin that started out lovely with the social distancing, but then I happened to there's of course, because I'm thinking I can pop into a restaurant, not an option these days when you have limited seating. So 50% capacity, you need to make a reservation. So I popped in, but luckily, as you know, the universe is watching out for me. Me and 2 girlfriends of mine actually sat at the bar. We amazingly got a little spot at the bar. So we hung out for a little bit, and everybody at the bar was socially distant. Everybody who was in their party sits together and everything was lovely, but give it a little bit and it was like phase 3, phase 5, we were back to normal. I mean, there was people all over the place, which makes sense, I guess, because they can't really control it they can control who comes in, but after they get in there, you know, how do you pull them away? You want to get the service, and yet, you know, you can't walk around telling people, hey, be socially distant. So it was interesting though. It was a little more than I thought was going to happen, at least here, because we've been kind of strict about it. Carl mentioned earlier how some other areas, he just happened to pop in. You went to Florida, right, Carl?
Yeah, I went to Florida. You'd almost assume that it has not. You see it, USA Today, a big article about Florida spiking. I'm telling you, when you're there, you do not know COVID has ever happened, except for the airport. The airport is very calm and spacing, and there's not a lot of people, but the beaches are full. I was there on a business trip, so I drove by the beaches in my rental car, you know what I mean? But seriously, the beaches are packed. The restaurants are packed. It's different. It's normal life there.
What's the mask situation like? Are people wearing their masks?
In the airports, yes. I felt it was fairly safe to fly. That's my opinion. In fact, I felt it was safer than going to a grocery store.
Wow.
But there's more distancing, there's more respect for others. I don't know, that's maybe too big of a generalization, but I felt like the airport is very safe. I just feel like Florida hasn't heard, the headlines have not hit that COVID is a relevant thing. It's the exact opposite. Me and Dustin were just talking, it's the exact opposite of California. Florida, and the opposite of California is Florida. So right now.
And Dustin, what did you share on that? What do you think causes that little lean?
Well, I mean, it's kind of obvious. It's political lines, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, so interesting. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see that report for the whole U.S. Like where those rules go. But Randy, have you traveled at all? Oh, sorry about that, Dustin. Go ahead.
I'm actually have been taking advantage. I went to the beaches a couple weeks ago. I'm going to Big Bear on Monday, and I'm really looking forward to renting a big house up there. It's a great time, to catch up with your family, and we may not be able to take advantage of this for a while. So getting out of town, I think, is important. I've also booked Mexico, mid-July, and hopefully Hawaii in August. So I'm going to do whatever I can to. But yes, I do work, folks. I do sell real estate.
You're not like Aaron, because Aaron's usually on our panel here, but Aaron's vacationing right now, so he didn't join us today. Well, but good for him.
You know what is interesting? Okay, so I was down. So Tao Group reopened Beauty in Essex last week at the Cosmopolitan, and I went down there because I wanted to check it out. Every single reservation, they have 250 tables or 250 people capacity. Every single reservation time was booked for 4 days straight. Totally booked. And it was really cool because you walk into this is Beauty in Essex, for those who don't know, it's kind of a swanky, kind of cool restaurant that has like a pawn shop, or a little like antique little store in front. And when you walk in, they have like this camera, and it takes a picture of you, it tells you the temperature. And so they do all the things for the safety. And talking to the executive team of Tao Group, all of those guys are participating, meaning if you're an executive management, I don't care where you are in the organization, whatever it takes to deliver that experience, they are taking it very seriously. And I think what is going to hopefully be a very positive point for Vegas is that we are the leaders in delighting our customers and giving the experience. And if we can continue to do that, I think people will come here, they'll come back in droves, and the energy level was off the charts this weekend at least at that casino. So I wanted to share that.
Cosmopolitan.
Yep.
Yeah. So, that's probably the closest right now we're getting to an atmosphere of a club type thing, because Cosmopolitan does a really great job of having music and DJs and kind of a really nice atmosphere. But last week too, when we spoke to Raul from the station casinos, that was their big focus too. Like, service levels are going off the charts so that we can keep people coming back. They're going to want to come back. And to be honest with you, I don't know how you guys feel, but when I travel, I miss our hospitality people. Like, we have such top-notch level, just generally speaking, that you go to other areas and I'm like, I kind of get my little Vegas. This is why I love it partially. Like, I feel like it's subpar sometimes, but they can't all keep up with us. We do have gaming that attracts a huge amount of people. So
yeah, you have people, I think, the staff is excited to work. People are excited to come back and serve people. The customers are excited, that's like, oh my gosh, we're out. So I think everyone is just more appreciative, and it's a kind of a different vibe, I think, in some of these restaurants. It's really neat to see. I've actually been very encouraged by it.
Fantastic. Yeah, we on our end, we actually want to spend a little, for the customers that are comfortable, we want to spend a little more time with you. So for that very reason, like you're saying, Randy, there's a lot of people that are just excited. I was excited to be out. I went to a nice dinner, which out for the first time last week on Friday, and I was thrilled. I'm already kind of silly and giddy anyway. I was so excited, and the service was absolutely amazing. So, and that was actually at Fleming's over here. I haven't left the neighborhood much, apparently, because that was over here and not too far from Summerlin either. But I'm going to touch on one thing before we dig into luxury, and that was just, I just want to give you guys a stat that I forgot to mention earlier. As far as the upward trend on the virus, because of more testing, which is a big part of it, but I did want to point out that it went from 2.7 to 4.5. It was the actual increase. So that was, you know, pretty much doubled, obviously. So that's obviously why we're not reopening. But let's support our Las Vegas community, and by being out and supporting this restaurant, I think that'll contribute to reopening. And all these people, let's, you know, like invite folks. Invite them to visit so that our hotels can open faster the more that they get going. So I'm gonna get going on luxury, Randy. And you, for those who don't know, Randy has a unique background. So he not only did new home sales, and Randy, correct me if I'm wrong as I go, but at Pulte, which is when I actually first met Randy. So Randy and I have known each other for a very long time, and I have a huge amount of respect for him. And so he did new home build. He also was at Queensridge, which is, you know, a tower, right? Condo living, but luxury condo living. And now he owns his own brokerage, which is Char Luxury over at Tivoli. Beautiful office, just expanded. Congratulations. And you're all in. So you know this market quite well. You've been here a long time. Let us know a little bit. Maybe, I know that you have a lot of information on builders, new home sales, what's going on, because that's kind of a marker for our future, right? We know builders build differently than what our normal residential resale is. So what have you heard in that world?
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you, Fritzy, for doing this. I think it's a very valuable tool, and the guys that you have on there. I think I love watching. The information is phenomenal. You know, I live in kind of a niche world, frankly, and so I don't get to hear what's going on in the other end of the spectrum. So that's great. So thanks for having me. In terms of kind of what I see going on, you know, I kind of wear two hats because my DNA for real estate consists of home building and development background, as well as let's call it luxury kind of a resale. And so I float between both ends to kind of get indicators of what I think. Oh,
you're paused on my end.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think his video got, I'm so sorry. Can you repeat? You were on pause for just a second, so we missed a chunk. You were saying that you were between, you know, the.
Okay, got it. So we're between, you know, so I kind of live in the world between the new homes and the resale. And in new homes, when you purchase a home, typically it's an advance purchase for down the road. So for example, if you buy a home, you put a deposit, you pick your options out, and then they build it. And in some cases, in the high-end market, could be a year, could be maybe 2 years, 3 years even. You know, I sold a home for Blue Heron, a new home in Roma Hills, and it's a 2.5-year process. Toll Brothers, it's 12 months out. So what's neat about following the new home construction for you guys that are in the industry is that if you watch what they are doing in terms of signups and reservations, it'll give you a future forecast of how the economy is doing for them. So for example, I spent some time, actually did an interview with the Vice President of Sales and Customer Experience for Toll Brothers, Colleen McCullough, and we spent some time at this really hot community in the Ridges called Mesa Ridge. And what it is, it's basically low 3,000s to low 5,000 square foot modern homes. She said that the amount of reservations that she's been taking, it's almost like COVID never happened. It happened in the beginning, they had a hiccup, but because they're so far in advance, that 2 months was just letting the construction team catch up because they were considered an essential business. So they virtually had no hiccup, no price depreciation. And in fact, they've continued to do very, very well. Of the 322 homes they have slated for that community, they've sold about half the community, and only 2 of the 4 model sites or model centers are up. So that just shows you how much demand, and these average price points are somewhere in the mid 1 millions. So to see that much absorption in one community in Summerlin tells you that people are doing well. The second thing I think that's very interesting is if you look at Wall Street's reports and you look at consumer behavior, people have money now. Like the stock market, you know, when it hit 18,000, that was a capitulation point for probably things to never look back. And sure enough, since that time a couple months ago, many people's at least portfolio wealth has recovered, not just fully, but those that took advantage might even have more. There's so much cash on the sideline, and people, because they're not spending on certain things, they're sitting at home and they're looking at all the things that bug them about their house. They can't stand the countertops. They can't stand their kitchen. They can't stand their yard. And guess what? The people with money are doing something about it. And so we're seeing a lot of people as far as high net worth individuals coming to the market and making purchases with confidence.
I love it. I love it. So in speaking with her, you didn't ask by chance if their incentives have changed. So if the pricing has stayed pretty similar, have the incentives changed? Is that a way to bring people in? Like, is it drastically different if they have?
So at the point when there was earlier on during COVID, if they were stuck with some inventory homes, meaning homes that were near completion, and I'm not talking just Toll Brothers, probably other builders, they were giving incentives to sell the homes because they didn't know the future. And as a home builder, you do not want to be hanging on to inventory. You're not emotional about the purchase or the sale because it's not one that you're signed to sell. However, going forward, the answer is no. They have not. Now, sometimes they give a small design credit or a credit to use their preferred lender. But besides that, I haven't seen anything drastic, because if you're selling something a year out, why do you need to discount it if there's demand?
Wow, yeah, that's fantastic. That looks like good news for the future then, right?
Yeah, so 2021, at least for them, is looking pretty bright.
Beautiful. It is not looking bright for our state, unfortunately, but those were some other things Governor Sisolak talked about, which was interesting. So it's like the extremes is so interesting to me. Like, you know, but that's Vegas. We're a beautiful city because we are unique. I feel like, you know, our market is unique. We go big. We go big usually, right?
Yeah. Now, one thing I do want to add is you know, we do a lot of luxury high-rise business also here in our office, and I track those numbers closely. And unfortunately, I can't say the same for the luxury high-rise market today. In fact, from Tycor's statistics, I see here year to date, there's 565 listed, 54 in the contracts, a little less than 10%, sold to date 235, and percentage change is down 27%. So we are definitely down in the high-rise market. And I think some of that is a fewfold. Naturally, people being in closer quarters, not everybody's really kind of comfortable or understanding if that's an environment they want to be in, number one. Number two, a lot of high-rise buyers are, especially in the luxury market, are second homeowners, or they're discretionary purchases. Those folks are maybe out of town. They just haven't come back to Vegas. Or thirdly, a lot of those are, let's face it, frankly, empty nesters or a senior part of the community that would live in low maintenance, you know, type of environment, and they're a little bit more shelter in place. So I think for those reasons alone, you're not seeing as much activity. However, again, I want to say not all high rises are built the same. And so you have to determine where you're at, because some of them can definitely live. Some have private elevators, private garages. They're taking extreme measures of cleanliness. So I think the misnomer out there is it may be unsafe in tight quarters, when in fact, in some cases, they are doing a very, very good job about their protection of their homeowners. So just something I thought I'd add there in contrast.
No, well, I appreciate that. And since you brought up the second home, what are you seeing thus far? And then we'll get into the actually luxury resale homes on not what we've talked about so far, but what are you seeing for absentee owners? Are people selling their second homes, or you think that they're just beyond that? They'll just keep it, they'll write it out, and you're not seeing a lot of that generally in the higher price points?
Okay, well, generally speaking, demand is definitely down somewhat, right? But what we're seeing is supply is also down and interest rates are low. So the combination of those two, for many real estate professionals in the city that are dealing in the high-end market, they're busy because the listings that we do have are getting a lot of action. So our perception is that things are still running pretty smooth, and the statistics will show that pricing is pretty steady year over year, given everything. To answer your question in terms of a lot of second homers out of state, those folks, California, they're running from riot season right now, so they're going to come our way, I think. But I don't know.
So it's a reprieve for them. They're like thankful they have another property in Las Vegas.
It is a reprieve. And remember, a lot of these folks in the high net worth category still have their wealth, and they were just sidelined. And there's probably, again, their interest. We could see a pretty good summer where normally our summers are a little slower here. We may see a better summer or a continuation of people coming into town now that the city's starting to open. So could be positive. We'll see.
Fantastic. So with that said, I want to touch a little bit, because we're gonna feed into Dustin here, speaking of financing and how much, what are the differences, like with this high level of monetary situation, these folks may not be financing that much. So we're going to touch on that with Dustin in just a second. But Randy, on as far as what is considered luxury for our market, what do you say for resale just traditionally in our market?
Are you talking about just like general price points and stuff that we're seeing?
Well, I know that I ran into you in the office yesterday, right? So some of the outlook is like, maybe we're going to trade houses. Like, okay, well, I'm going to upgrade, I'm going to change. And I know some of that comes with, you've been home a lot. So are you seeing that? We talked about that on other shows. Are you seeing that a lot in luxury? Are folks trading out homes, like selling as high as they think maybe they're going to be able to sell for a while and then purchasing something else just at a great price? Or what are you seeing on that end?
Well, absolutely. Remember, we live in the town where you build a home today, and in 3 years, the trend might be, I've already moved on you. So I think that is something that people want. Everybody's into the grayish homes right now, right? They don't want gray, yeah. They don't want beige, they want grayish. That's the deal. So if you have a gray home or you have a Tuscan home, then you better switch to grayish. So what you're seeing is, I think a lot of folks, again, they're sitting at home and they're going, hey, if I want to upgrade my lifestyle, if I want to be at home more, let me make this place somewhere where I really want to be. So I'm seeing, of all of our listings, at least the 2 listings I can share from personal experience that had the most traffic over the last 30 days has been about a $3 million listing in the Ridges and a $1.5 million listing in Red Rock Country Club. Both had views, both had probably more showings combined than probably 10 or 12 of my other high-rise properties. To give you an example, so people's eyes are definitely paying attention to those type of properties, seeing a lot of activity. And what I might add is that if you look at general numbers and you look at general supply, that doesn't always tell you the story, because I think that the homes that are maybe have some functional obsolescence, or maybe just not be as desirable in location, or overpriced or too ambitious, right? Those homes are sitting on the market, are continuing to sit on the market. Buyers aren't just stabbing at anything. However, if the home is desirable, looks great, shows great, great location, people are waiting on the sidelines for those opportunities. And when they come on the market, in some cases, you're even seeing some multiple offers. So it's kind of the tale of 2 cities there.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I love that. Thank you so much. I've definitely learned something today from all your info, and I appreciate you being on today. Hang tight for a minute. We're going to go into financing. Mr. Dustin DeHart, thank you. How are you today?
Oh, thank you, Fritzy.
Good, good. So we are at our half-hour mark, but we're getting such fantastic information. We're going to go ahead, and I don't see any questions, so I'm going to go ahead and just keep the program going as we normally go, and we'll just answer some stuff we think you might want to know. So Dustin, what's happening what do you consider luxury lending, and how much do you see of it, or does that mostly go cash? Are people doing 1031s? What's your experience of that?
Well, on the lending side, as Randy was speaking, it's 650. Well, we consider luxury anything over the conforming loan limits, right? That's jumbo loan. So I consider anything a jumbo loan, that's luxury, right? For as far as mortgages are concerned. And, the narrative that I've been giving the past couple months on these panels, as far as lending, is we were kind of in dire straits, and that's worked itself out for all the conventional FHA, VA deals. That's fine right now. We're full systems go, even down payment assistance for lower income borrowers. But the jumbo market hasn't rushed back. The main players Chase, but they've installed so many guidelines. It's ridiculous. It was hard to get a jumbo loan done anyways, and now it's ridiculous. Like, I just closed one recently. The easiest deal you could possibly do: W-2 employee, 800 credit score, 60% loan to value. Should have flew through without any conditions. There's only 4 pages of conditions. You know what I mean? So that market hasn't rushed back. Even Wells, they haven't come back yet, and they were the other main player. So all of the low down payment options, like 5 or 10% down for jumbos, those have not come back either. Randy mentioned, high-rise condos. There was non-warrantable condo products. Those have kind of gone away. So the jumbo arena is still kind of in flux, and it's still out there, but it was already hard to do. It's even harder to do. I'm a complete opposite of Randy. My normal deal is about 280,000, but we do a lot of units. We don't see a ton of jumbo stuff, but when it does fall on our lap, we welcome it. We can underwrite it in-house. But again, it's not an easy loan to do before, and it's even tougher now. And I don't know when they're going to come back, because everything else is kind of normalized, and I'm not sure why they haven't, more investors haven't dipped their toe in the pool yet. It's a little odd.
Well, that might answer a question, actually, because yesterday Randy and I were discussing that there's so much cash, right, Randy? You had it seems to be going more cash, but it may be because of the financing situation. Or do you think those folks just are, because they're not like doing a 1031 from what we discussed, and are they just not finding financing options, so they're going ahead and paying cash? In your opinion, anyway?
Couple of things. Number one, they have the ability to pay cash, and when they do, they believe there's a perception that they believe that they have more leverage in their buying power, and sometimes that they could do financing, or they may borrow against themselves, right, to fund the loan or go afterwards, something like that. The jumbo loans, I agree, they're fewer and far, but they still are out there. And I just purchased a home with the jumbo loan, about $1 million loan amount, and they did put you through the ringer, but you still got the loan. So that could be a factor, though, going forward. If this continues to be difficult, that could definitely affect the market. So I'm going to be very curious to see what the future holds for jumbo loans.
Yeah, it's weird because the jumbo borrowers are the best borrowers on the planet typically, right? High income, high credit scores, ton of assets. Yet they're more difficult than the guy that's got a 620 credit score with no money in the bank to get done. You know what I mean? It's
wow.
just an odd paradigm, but that's the world we live in.
Wow. So we'll keep an eye on that then, and see how that starts to slowly come back, hopefully, if all goes well, right? We can't have these folks not getting their $1 million loans. I mean, that's a lot of money to put into a home. And even if you have it, like, to not have it liquid makes a big difference. Why not invest it or use it in other means, right? So anyway, we'll keep an eye on that for the future. Thank you so much. So one thing that I did want to mention also is Carl's an investor, right? So most people think investors don't do luxury. They don't buy luxury. They don't pass a certain price point. They want to stay in that medium, like with that 200 to 300,000, or even lower. I'll say 100,000 and below to 300,000. That's like the typical thought of a lot of these investors. But Carl recently purchased a property that recently, it isn't as recent, right? Like not within weeks, but that he remodeled and made it sole again, because it had some issues, but he wasn't scared to buy it, wasn't scared to invest and get it perfect again. So Carl, tell us a little bit about your experience. You had a house in Lake Las Vegas that you purchased that was $1 million home, and how did that go? What was your experience with that?
So I'll put it in the chat, the address on it. So
Oh,
basically,
good.
individual called me up, and this was direct, right? An agent wasn't represented. They just wanted to sell, and they needed to sell very quickly. It was an estate type situation. And about 1/3, so to give you the description, it's about a 5,000 square foot home with a 3,500 square foot garage space. Okay, so I mean, you've got a 50-foot long roll up, well, 14-foot high roll up door. So a full size bus or van RV could pull into this, or a sailboat. You could park whatever you wanted in it underneath the home.
Nice.
But a car collector, this is their dream home. Okay. So in this scenario, 1/3 of the house, the foundation cracked. And so that's what made it scary. And that's why they decided, they talked to some realtors. They decided, we don't want to sell, going that route, because they didn't want to put the money into it. And so we brought in a company called Eagle Lift, and so you got a picture that 1/3 of that home cracked off. It just had had about a 3-inch drop in it. And then we went in and put 47 piers around the outside, and an engineer comes in, they're not guessing. An engineer comes in, creates the plan, then Eagle Lift comes back and lifts it with hydraulic lift, and they had to go back after and put in a stem wall underneath the home. So we excavated down, put in the stem wall, compacted everything back in. So it's on really solid ground, much more solid than if it had been built today. And so I bought it for $650,000. And beautiful home in South Shore, the guard gated area of Lake Las Vegas. And I put it originally, and every time you get foundation work, it's a blank check, meaning you can have a firm bid from them, but you just never know what it's really going to end up. I had a firm bid at $55,000. I ended up going just over $100,000 in foundation work, which sucks.
Wow. And
then I put $270,000 into the remodel of the property. But it's full. It was only a 98, but it was pink and mauve, a beautiful luxury home. We couldn't use anything. We had to tear it down to the studs. I mean, besides some drywall, I mean, we couldn't use any of it. And so we completely redid the home, put $270,000 into it. It's a really modern home, but it's got to have keep that Tuscan feel, because it's got to fit the neighborhood. And so I've about to list, where photos are next week. They're doing the garage floor. I mean, it's the selling point. So it's like a 7-day process to get the floor perfect, with a painting type process, multiple layer painting. So it'll be done this week, and then I'll have it on the market. And Gene Northrup is the one that's listing it out there. He's the biggest guy in South Shore. And so that's who we ended up going with the listing on it. But, the best thing that he can describe is that there's been about the last 30 sales out there in South Shore.
Mm-hmm.
He can't think of one local. No one's from Vegas that moves to South Shore. It's not like it's a destination, so to speak. If you're local, you're probably going to move to Summerlin. You're going to, you want a big luxury home and you still work. You're one of the Ridges, or, Dragon Ridge, one of those areas, but Californians love South Shore. And so if you picture it, if you are in the Bay Area and you want to sell a 1,600 square foot home built in the 1940s with no garage, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, a beautiful home, but let's be honest, 1,600 square foot, without a garage, an older home, decent size, smaller lot, that home will sell in the ballpark of about 1.4 million. So if you were to sell that home and you decide, hey, I want to retire to Las Vegas, or it's time for me to move or have a second home, then you're going to come over here and you'll be able to get a absolutely gorgeous home with 8,500 square foot if you include the garage, in usable area. And so, in a 5-bedroom, 5-bath. So in a guard gated neighborhood that's beautiful. So, I mean, you look at that contrast and you think, well, who's going to buy this $1.4 million home? Well, granted, probably not a local, but it still can be a great flip, because people in that price range still have the cash, and that's not a stretch for them. Whether or not they get a loan or not, they'll either way have a very sizable down payment. And so looking at the statistics, we decided that below $1 million, above $500,000, below $1 million scared me. I don't do a lot of flip in that category. Above $1 million, I feel like there's enough movement in the market in Vegas that I still feel comfortable in that area. So
I can't wait to see the pictures.
Yeah, I'll buy in any category. Maybe next time I'll do before and after photos. I'll link it. I didn't have it prepared this time, but yeah, if you ever want to kind of look at that, then or I do have them actually. I just have them online. I'll post a link for it. So.
Okay, fantastic. So that's interesting. So you did that garage, 3,500 square feet. Seriously, clearly I'm not a car enthusiast to that degree, but that sounds perfect for somebody who is. Actually, I went to your office this week, and I don't know whoever is in your space over there, but somebody has some fancy cars.
Yeah, next to me. Yeah, I don't even know who it is. The guy that owns the warehouse next to me owns 3 warehouses in a row and has a few hundred high-end luxury cars. And so we just know that every once in a while, and not a regular Porsche, a limited edition Porsche comes zipping out of there, and he's got 40 of them. You know, it just,
right.
I don't know who owns it. I've been in it, I've seen it, always with employees, and he made me sign an NDA. So I have no idea who owns it.
Interesting. Yeah, he had several different versions of Rolls Royces out there that.
And these aren't regular Rolls Royces. These are limited edition, bulletproof assault vehicles. He doesn't have anything regular. He's like, look at this, look at underneath. We could drive over a mine. I'm like, yeah, are you going to take your Rolls Royce to Iraq? I mean, what, is that really a thing? But you know, if it is, then my truck will blow up and his won't. So that's a good thing for him. So.
Why don't you sell him the house, Carl? He obviously.
I know. Because I got like he could park 15 cars. I think he's already living somewhere pretty nice, and he's got a driver that runs him the cars. But these people live around us, folks. We're Vegas, and so they exist. They're here, and you need to, you know, not be afraid of that category of price, because at the end of the day, we're a desirable place to live. And the tax ability to move from California to Nevada is only going to get better in our favor, not worse. So at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of Californians moving that way, and you don't have to worry about just baby boomers. A lot of people are moving through that category even years from now. So move in our direction.
Fantastic. We'll take it. Come on over, folks. So that probably wraps up all of our subjects for the day that we were going to dig into. We were going to talk a little bit about the national economy and how it pertains to us directly as well, but we're going to hit that next week. We had the opportunity to have Randy on, so we wanted to dig deep with him and give you guys an idea of what's happening in our luxury market here for our lovely Las Vegas. So does anybody have any questions? I'm going to touch on questions, and then if not, I'm going to give you guys a couple more stats, and then we can be on our way. Anybody have any questions? I don't see any in the chat, so.
In 2 weeks, so Fritz, you said next week, so it's not next week.
Oh, in 2 weeks, yes.
It's actually July 1st, right? Week of the 4th, but it's the Wednesday before. And we've got a probate attorney that does nonstop probate. He's one of the best in Vegas, and he's coming on. And so you get free probate advice. When do I need to get my client in front of an attorney? When can I avoid it? When, you know what I mean? He's going to talk probate and how to work with it. So I think valuable. And then we'll also have some national statistics that we've got going on from an economist. Texas A&M's economist just did a presentation that I bought. So we'll go over that as well.
Beautiful. So folks, we have put everything in Eventbrite. So for everyone, if you want to share the link, if you want to register for any future events, we're doing 2 a month right now. At some point, we may go back into a face-to-face environment when that is okay. So I think right now it's still at 10 people per room, so we're not there just yet, but I have scheduled it out for the full year. So we'll try and keep those dates even if we do go live and in person. And for now, we're gonna keep this going on Zoom, and I hope you guys are enjoying it. Please share, invite folks to join us. We dig deep to try and bring you some current information and keep you abreast of what's going on in our city. And make sure that you're informed, make sure that you are getting information for what you're looking for. So feel free to send me an email if there's a topic that you want to touch on. I think probate is a great subject, so we're going to hit that next week. And we're going to continue to try and have subjects that entice you. So I want to give a big thank you to our panel and our special guest, Mr. Randy Char. Thanks for joining us today. And thank you to Carl and Dustin. You guys are always a wealth of knowledge. We greatly appreciate that. I will leave you with some stats. Really exciting stuff, but we need it for our industry, right? So this is a comparison year to year from last year, May of 2020 compared to May of 2019. So these will be interesting stats for you guys. Let me know what your opinions are. So active listings went from 7,884 up 6% from last month. Oops, sorry, that one's last month. I'll give you the year in a moment. Last month was 7,419. And then year to date, though, it went down 20%. So last year in May, we had 9,795 active listings. Thoughts, anyone?
Well, I think Randy talked about it earlier. If the market if the supply comes down a little bit, even if the demand comes down a little bit, we're still in a frenzy situation, especially under 350,000. You know, the 0 to 300 market is still a really strong demand area that I have no problem. 4 homes listed in that market last week, and I don't have all of them sold, but I have strong activity and half sold, and a week or two is all you need in that category if you're priced right.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
Randy, do you have something you want to share on that stat? Oh, he might be paused right now. I think he was gonna, oh, there we go.
Oh, hey.
Hi.
No, Carl hit it right there. But one of the things that I try to always think about, statistics are important, but what does it really mean, right? People always ask, what do I do? Like, should I invest in a home right now? And obviously the question depends. But one of the plays that you could think about doing is if you are sitting at home and you're thinking, do I want to improve my lifestyle one way or another? What could I improve into home? It might be a good time. And here's why. If you're selling your home, even if it's 5% because of COVID or whatever, 5% back of peak, let's call it. But there are definitely people out there that need to sell for this reason or that reason. And you might acquire a home 10, 15, 20% behind a comp. It's possible. And so I always tell people, don't focus on what you're getting out of your home or how much of a discount you need to sell or can you sell it, but rather the delta between what you need to sell to where you're going. And if that net effect is positive for you, then it might be a good time to move, on top of wanting to move because you can improve your lifestyle for family reasons or just motivation or things that you just want. So I think that's something important to keep in mind, because what I don't want to do is sit up here and give you a rosy picture about what tomorrow holds. I don't know. We still haven't had a major correction in a long, long time, even with this latest epidemic. So don't know what the future holds. But what I will tell you is that if you sell, lock in your profit if you have profit in your home, and buy aggressively like Carl did in Lake Las Vegas or somewhere else, and even better, you live in that home, then again, you will know that you maybe have taken the profits tax-free and moved into a place you like more and bought a good deal. That's a win-win-win all the way around.
I love that. I love that mindset. I think everybody should deliver that message, Randy. You sold me. That's great. And it's great thinking. You move, you go into a more desirable home. Your home did its purpose, right? And you're moving on to the next one. And tax-free sounds good, right? You're moving your money. So that's fantastic. I like that thought process. I'll touch on the next stat, which is monthly sales. So monthly sales, 2,029, down 49% from last year to 3,927, and then down 16% from last month. So last month there was 2,411 sales. I talked about this one earlier, 2,029 this month, and then I'll go into the next one. So that one we kind of touched on a little bit already. The average sales price per square foot was $174.33 versus $169.64 of May last year. So that's up 3%. And then down from $174.42, excuse me, or 1% down from last month. So it looks like the average sale price from a year ago is 3% down, and from last month just 0.1%. So not bad. Monthly average sales, 343,145 versus 326,271 last year, May to May. So that's up 5%. And then up 4% from last month at 331,897. Those are the monthly averages. So the averages actually went up. The price per square foot was not too far off, right? So those are interesting statistics as well. So anyway, I'm going to close out on that. I think I've talked about stats long enough on today's episode, but thank you all very much for being here. If anybody has a quick question real quick before we sign out, I'll give you 1 minute, but otherwise, thank you all very much. Did you guys have any questions for each other, or you want to dig into each other's thought process a bit, or no? I thought there was some questions out there that we were going to ask. Yeah? Okay, well, good. Thank you all very much. We hope you join us. Like Carl, thank you for correcting me. We're doing it twice a month. Next month, we're going to have probate. So keep in mind to register for all of our episodes, and that way you're already done. And we will see you next month. Thank you very much. Have a great day and happy Wednesday.